So when it comes to dating, a lot of us know how to find the unhealthy patterns in another person. We know how to see the things that are wrong and be like, all right, I'm out. But how do we know the right things about a person? How do we know when a person is the one, as people say? How do you know that it's going to be right? Today, we're going to be talking about 3 signs that you have found the right woman. Hey guys, I am Reese Maxwell with Thriving Man Life Coaching, and I've been married to a woman that's way out of my league for 5 years now. So, these are the first 3 things that when I got in a relationship with Emily, I did. I literally applied these 3 things. I didn't think of it as the big 3, but these were just things that came naturally to me, and I'm so glad that I went through this process to make sure that me and Emily were a good fit, because that's such a huge part of it. I want these 3 things to help you as well. So let's jump into it. 1, you need to have the same faith foundation. Here's the truth. Religion, or a lack thereof, affects everything in your life. Who is God? Who gets the final say? Who do I answer to? These are some of the deeper questions that don't just affect whether you go to church on Sunday. They affect every area of your life, the kind of decisions that you end up making for the trajectory of your life. You need to be on the same page about religion, the same page about faith, in order for everything else to be cohesive. In the Bible, Paul talks about the dangers of being unequally yoked, which really is just a fancy biblical way for saying one person is in Christian faith and one person is not. And he's pointing out this issue because you can't go to a person who's got a fundamentally different worldview from you and get on the same page. You see, if somebody was not a Christian and they were interested in dating me, I would have said no, not just because for my sake, but for their sake. They would hate to be in a relationship with me because God is the center of my day. He's the center of my week. He's the center of the purpose of my life. So all the things that I do in my daily life are going to be filtered through him. And if they don't believe he's real, or if they don't think he's good or whatever, they would not like to be with me long term. The same faith foundation matters. And missionary dating does not work. Once again, to go back to the unequally yoked example, it doesn't work out well. Missionary dating is this basic idea that if you're a person of faith and you go to somebody that's not someone of faith and you walk into it saying, I can change them. Your job is not to change somebody you're in a relationship with. You want to be on the same page. That's the whole point. I grew up in youth ministry. My dad was a youth pastor for most of my childhood, and I cannot think of a single couple that started out on different pages faith-wise that stayed together and it worked out. It always ended badly. So don't fall into that pattern. For Emily and I, being of the same faith has helped us in so many areas. The way that we do our finances, the way that we connect with our community, all of these things go back to faith. So you've got to get that right. 2 is you want to have shared values. Now, faith is the central thing, but there's a lot of areas outside of faith, outside of religion, that are core parts of how God wired you. What do you think about physical health? Does that matter to you? What do you think that should look like? If you're on completely different pages about that, that could be a point of tension between the 2 of you. Maybe relationships. What do you think a marriage should be? What do you think friendship should be? If you walk in with completely different expectations and completely different worldviews, that could be a problem. Here's another value I think is huge. Family. What are the family expectations that this person grew up with? I know people who, them and their family are so close that they never want to live outside of the same city. I really know people like that. Like they live on the same street almost, or the same neighborhood. They all live 3 or 5 minutes away. Is that what your wife wants to do? If so, is that what you want to do? If the answer is yes, awesome. Live in the town for the rest of your life. That's cool. But if one of you wants to, I don't know, live in a totally different part of the country and the other one wants to live in the same city as their family, it's not going to work out. Or at least it's not going to work out very well for you guys. I don't think that that's something you want to be on different pages about. These are all examples of values. You want your core values to be in alignment with each other. That's going to set you up for success. Whenever Emily and I first started talking, because you got the talking phase, I ended up asking her a lot of questions. And they were about stuff like this. And I did it with two purposes in mind. One, I genuinely wanted to get to know her. What does she think about family? What does she think about travel? Would she ever be willing to live outside of Mississippi? Where does she fall on all of these different categories? I knew where she was faith-wise, but I checked in on the value stuff that mattered to me. But I wanted to look at all the things that mattered to her and to me and see if they aligned or not. I didn't necessarily do it with that in mind. I didn't think to myself, let me align our values. But you need to know where you stand on the core stuff. And I'm so glad I did that. If you have no idea what your values are and you would like to be able to find that out, just comment below and let me know, because we can do a series on how to connect with your values. I did it for myself. It was hugely helpful. And if you want that kind of content, we want to give you what helps. So just let me know that in the comments below. Third, and very importantly, you need to know if your trustworthy friends or mentors, no, probably both, your trustworthy friends and mentors approve of her. If your trustworthy friends and mentors approve of this girl, that is a huge benefit, because there are these little things called love goggles. Whenever you like a girl, a chemical gets released in your brain called oxytocin, and it literally becomes like these lenses that you put on, and it filters away all of your girl's flaws. You're like, she's perfect. She's perfect in every way. There's nothing wrong with her. There could never be anything wrong with my girl. It's not true. But here's the beautiful thing. Even though you've got these lenses on, nobody else in your little circle has them on. None of your friends, none of your parents or your mentors, none of them have those lenses on. So you can ask them, like, let's say your girl's name is Heather or something. You can say, what do you guys think about Heather? And they'll tell you. And if it's something good, awesome. Confirmation that she's the right girl for you up to this point. If the answer is no, you may have to have some hard conversations and ask why. And if what they're saying you don't want to hear, but you know is true, you should probably end the relationship. For me with Emily, I did this almost immediately, like right when we started talking. I had the blessing of my family is trustworthy, number one. But number two, they knew Emily. We ran some youth camps together for summers and for like years. And so they were well familiar with her. They knew who she was. And so whenever I got back and I had gotten her number, I was like, hey, y'all, what do you guys think of Emily? And they were all singing her praises. They were like, man, she's awesome. Man, she's such a hard worker. Golly, she's fun, or stuff like that. And so it was a big check mark for me in the right direction, because I knew, okay, if these people who don't have the same love goggles on that I have on think that she's like this, I already think she's like this, but that means I'm seeing it accurately. It's almost a check mark in a way to see if you're deceiving yourself or not. It's a very key principle. You definitely want to do this. If it's not your family that's trustworthy, maybe they have some unhealthy patterns and expectations, maybe an adult in your church or a mentor from your school or something could meet them. I don't know. You're going to have to get creative if that's the case, but it needs to happen because you need to see if you're deceiving yourself or not. I'm going to throw in one more bonus green flag here. If you guys have chemistry outside of a romantic setting, that's a huge positive. Because here's the truth. You can be romantic with anybody at a candlelit dinner. But how do you guys get along outside of romance? How do you get along when you're serving somewhere? How do you get along when you're in a public setting? When you're just friends hanging out, how do you do in that setting? Because being romantic can be easy when all the feelings are there. But what do you guys like outside of that? Marriage does have a ton of romance, but that's not all it is. When you marry somebody, you're agreeing to live in the same house for the rest of your life. You need to be good friends. You need to be able to get along as best friends. And so you should check to see what is your interaction like outside of just the romantic setting. For me and Emily, we worked at those church camps for a long time, and we did continue afterwards being involved in church activities. And so we got to see each other in a different environment than just a romantic moment. So it's very helpful to know that, because you need to know if you have that chemistry outside of romance. There we are, 3 general green flags and a little bonus one for you on what's going to help you see if this is the right girl for you. If you know somebody who's just starting a relationship or is looking at the prospect of doing that, share this video with them so it can help them. And if you want resources for your life, we've created a ton of great things, courses, groups to be able to connect together, to grow and succeed in the areas that matter at thrivingman.com. So go there, check it all out, and I'll see you in the next video.